an interview instead of interviewing yourself?
I said I'm not going to comment on the merits of what's going forward.
Is that concerning at all to you that the transcript that you described as a perfect transcript that may not have been?
No, I mean, there's a process. The changes I think that were outlined in the press were not a big.
Republicans are so desperate not to answer questions about Trump's behavior that veteran Congressman Don Young from Alaska headbutted a camera when confronted by the liberal group MoveOn.org before ducking into an elevator.
Congressman, it's a simple yes or no question. Is the yes or no, is it okay? Is we talk to our press secretary? Is it an acceptable thing to ask foreign governments to interfere in our elections? Just asking the same question over and over again is not going to get you guys anywhere. But if you talk to Zach in our office, he's our press secretary. He's the best person to talk to about this, and we'll be able to get you something back. Just curious, the yes or no question. Do you think it's okay for the president to pressure foreign governments to interfere in our elections? I think the best thing to do is talk to our press secretary.
You ever in a situation like that where you're just like, why is the elevator not coming? I really need to get on this elevator. We called Zach. We called Zach in the congressman's press office to get an answer. Guess what? No response. The next public phase of impeachment could take its toll on Republicans, as Jennifer Rubin notes in the Washington Post, quote, if Republicans ever break free of their irrational fear of Trump at his base, they might realize that saving him is becoming incompatible with saving themselves. Joining us now, Jennifer Rubin, opinion writer at the Washington Post and MSNBC contributor, E.J. Dionne, opinion writer for the Washington Post and visiting professor at Harvard University. I kind of felt for Congressman Young there for a second as he was trying to get in that elevator and escape the repeated asking of the question. But Jennifer, it's kind of crazy, right? Republican after Republican after Republican, nobody wants to discuss the merits. Nobody wants to comment on the merits, or they have no problem with the phone call. At some point, the process argument disappears because the process will become transparent to everybody, and that whole argument about how it's Soviet-style depositions will evaporate.
Well, I guess now Zach is the congressman from Alaska, because apparently he can answer questions that the congressman don't. I find this really sort of embarrassing and pathetic. These people are paid to at least give us their opinion. They can have whatever view they want, but to be afraid of saying what they think or to run literally from the press or their own constituents, this is not a sustainable strategy, let me tell you. And judging from the poll numbers for people like Cory Gardner and Joni Ernst, it's not going to sustain them. I think they're trapped. The process argument has fallen apart, as you say, and they don't have a good substantive argument. The president's defense is, I did it, and it doesn't matter. I don't care. Everything I do is fine. The Article 2 of the Constitution allows me to do whatever the heck I want. So I don't know how senators in particular, who I think have a higher level of probity, are going to deal with this. Essentially, we have a confession. We're going to have to exonerate them. That's apparently what the Senate is contemplating, that even with a quid pro quo, hey, whatever.
Well, EJ, this is interesting because Lindsey Graham was on there saying he had no problem with the phone call. There were a couple of people there who don't really have to take any issue with it.
Got it.
A lot of them were saying difficult question, unfair question, stop interviewing yourself. We'll get to the investigation. We'll get to the merits of it. At some point, and that point may come within 2 weeks, it may come within 30 days, there will be nothing to hide behind, and there will just be the facts, which, by the way, most of us have known largely since day one. What happens then?
Well, I think they're in a heap of trouble, but they're already in a heap of trouble. I mean, we have reached a pretty bad point when Don Young's headbutt may have been the most in that whole lot of evasions. I was thinking about that old Police song when I saw that series of word salads, to do, the da. That's all I have to say to you. They have nothing to say because they know that they are being asked to defend the indefensible. And it is particularly hard for senators in tough races next year from tough states, Joni Ernst and Susan Collins and Cory Gardner, because they lose either way. They need the Trump base, and they know they need a lot of votes from anti-Trump people. So what you're starting to see, there's a story in the Post, they're going to try to pivot to say, well, yeah, this is what he said, but it's not impeachable or it's not illegal. say, yes, foreign interference would be wrong, but Trump is innocent. They can't say he's innocent now because the evidence is too overwhelming, and that's why they just don't know what to say.
And we're seeing a crack among conservatives, Jennifer, in this. The support amongst Republicans for Donald Trump is now down to about 74% in this particular instance. Chris Wallace yesterday on Fox saying that it was more than just a phone call or a perfect phone call, whatever it is. Judge Andrew Napolitano wrote an op-ed in which he weighs in on this. I want to read you from that. It says, with the process soon to be, as Republicans have demanded,
on the dance floor.
Offenses plain to see to what will resort as a defense. They will claim that the federal crimes of soliciting campaign assistance from foreign governments and bribery aren't impeachable offenses, and that Trump was misunderstood because he exaggerates all the time and often doesn't mean what he says. And then the American public will decide if all this is skim milk or cream. And that's what it comes down to. We're not, unlike the Mueller report, we're not going to be, I imagine, I'm guessing, we're not going to be having arguments of fact come 2 weeks from now or 3 weeks from now.
This is what the Republicans are reduced to arguing, that bribery is not an impeachable offense. This is pretty crazy stuff. And I think EJ is exactly right that for senators who don't live in the middle of deep, deep red America and are not soaking day after day in Fox News, these arguments are going to come across as pretty crackpotish. And think about this. Does the Republican Party really want to go down in history as the pro-corruption party? This is essentially what Trump is saying. I can get foreigners to decide our elections. I can use taxpayer-funded aid to Ukraine, which is defending itself against what's supposed to be a common enemy, Russia, and instead get them to use their influence to help me win an election. This is the very essence of corruption, and I don't see how it's going to be sustainable for them to keep supporting it and defending it.
Thanks to both of you, Jen Rubin and EJ Dion. Always appreciate your analysis.
Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on the button below for more from The Last Word and the rest of MSNBC. There's a new poll out today from the Washington Post and ABC News that includes a pretty startling number. 18% of Republicans support impeachment and removal of Donald Trump. Now, to be clear, that number is an outlier. Other polls haven't shown that to be the case. The proof fact is that if the president is going to be both impeached and removed from office for the first time in American history, there's going to have to be some kind of cratering of Republican support. It was that cratering of Republican support that, of course, led to Richard Nixon. Republican lawmakers marched up to the White House, told him he lost his support and he was going to get removed. But the thing is that a lot has changed since 1974. I mean, perhaps more than anything else, the structural polarization of the electorate. And also the fact that an alternate media environment exists for conservatives. One that Fox News' own Geraldo Rivera explains could have kept Nixon in office had it been around in 1974.
You know, if it wasn't your show, Sean, they would destroy him absolutely. You're the difference between Donald J. Trump and Richard Nixon. In Nixon's case, if he had someone that stuck up for him, he wouldn't have been, motivated to cover up that burglary.
Could cut both ways. Here to talk about that now, Philippe Reines, who spent decades in the trenches of political combat as an advisor to Hillary Clinton, both in her campaigns as a new school former assistant U.S. attorney who's been following impeachment closely, and Evan Siegfried, a Republican strategist who wrote a book about the generational differences within the Republican Party. Good to have you guys here. So, I feel like, we only have these two, we've got three presidents, right? We've got Andrew Johnson during Reconstruction, very different time, very different era. We've got Nixon, we've got Clinton. And I feel like we keep pointing back to Nixon, particularly because this feels more like Watergate than the Clinton impeachment. But as someone who has been on the other side of the Republican attack machine, advising Hillary Clinton, how much faith do you have that the current information environment
means that facts can come out, that people are persuadable, that the 40% of the country that continues to approve him can be brought to the side?
Naively, probably more than you'd think.
Really?
Really.
I am surprised by that.
Because not to a point where, you know, number of people go to 80 or 100%. But if you look back at the last 2.5 years, when facts have been entered into the public debate, whether it was the Mueller documents, whether it was the non-Jewish phone calls, or whether it was the media, whether it was formal investigation, whether it's what's happening now, the needle has moved. There's a reason why. Number one, there hasn't been a single hearing. And I actually go forward a little bit because going to be impeached as a foregone conclusion. He is unlikely to be removed. But what is hopeful is that balance will be restored come November 4th, the day of the election, which is barely a year from now. Because what hopefully will happen is that the Republican senators in particular will pay a steep price for politicizing it, in which case it is possible the next time we need this, it won't be taken as trivially. And the problem with 98 is that basically the Republican neutered impeachment. Because they did it, and we've been afraid to use it for the last 2 years. Democrats said, look what happened in 98, look what happened in 98.
The flip side of that I can see, since you say that, is imagine a precedent in which impeachment becomes routine and is essentially just a no confidence vote. That as long as you hold together your caucus and don't get a 2/3 majority in the Senate, everyone goes, right? Like the more that we see partisan polarization do its battle between the two parties in oscillation, I think Republicans have exacerbated Democrats. Like you can imagine a scenario in which, like, I can see Republicans getting ready to impeach the next Democratic president from the first day.
Of course, now everybody, whoever we're running against is an exit. You make them feel like they're cornered and they have no other recourse but to 100% support the person who's fighting for you, no matter what they do, even if it's a
Disagreeing, and not because it's not because I don't think the danger is there, but what we've seen in the polls people, including Democrats, being very reticent about impeachment. People were jumping on Donald Trump impeachment. Even Democrats were saying, no. What really changed here is the clearer and clearer, and all the witnesses have been corroborating some very important, scary facts that go to the heart of national
I
security.
mean, look, there's easier either way. The president, Republicans would not be Hillary Clinton, and that's an abuse.
Wait a second, but it's important you made that point because
But she wouldn't be removed, and there's a reason why the
here's
bar
my
is so
point. My
high.
point about that, you're thinking about that.
Yeah.
Was the thinking, I think, people who supported Bill Clinton in '98, which is they want the guy gone anyway. This is what they found. That's exactly what Republicans tell themselves, right? I mean, I'm not saying the facts are the same, but what I am saying is the cast of mind here of Republicans, right? They're telling themselves the facts don't matter because they wanted this guy gone anyway.
It's called delusion.
Well, I mean, this assumes they're paying no price. I mean, this goes back to Philippe's earlier point, which is, I mean, that holds if there's no cost. In other words, politically, right? Because at the end of the day, this is a political calculus for the folks who are going to let me vote. That's why we're all talking about polls. We're not talking about the rule of law. We're talking about polls.
Well, let me ask you this then. It was interesting to me. So